Rami?
Here.
Weber?
Here.
Whitney? Here. Wolf?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Richards. And the first item on our agenda is approval of the minutes from the April 19th meeting. Any comments or discussion? Otherwise, looking for a motion.
Move approval.
We have a motion from Mr. Kavami,
Second.
second from Ms. Whitney, and any further comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 3, PACE loan request, Core Scientific. Mr. Ballmer.
Mr. Weber, before we get started, I'd like to request that I recuse myself from the discussion on this topic.
Very good. Can we have a motion to recuse, Mr. Wolf?
Motion to recuse Mr. Wolf.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Mr. Bombach.
Members of the committee, Brandon Baumbach, Director of Business Development of the Grand Forks Region EDC. Exciting to bring Core Scientific in front of you. There's been some conversation around the company in Grand Forks recently, but I do believe this is the first time this body has heard from Core Scientific. It's a computer processing company. It specializes in ownership and operation of large data centers since 2017, and they're currently expanding into the Grand Forks market with their latest data center. With us tonight is Jeff Pratt, Senior Vice President of Operations and Finance, and given his presence, I will allow him to talk through the project.
Very good. Thank you, Brandon. Mr. Pratt, welcome.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you again for giving me another chance to speak in front of this body about our exciting expansion into Grand Forks. Just give a little bit of history about the company. You know, Core Scientific is a very fast-growing startup. We're in the high-density data center space. Our customers and ourselves, we do things like video rendering, cryptocurrency mining, data processing, and we have a unique design to our data centers where companies invested heavily into research and development, and we have an air-cooled data center design that's generated actually close to 60 patents so far. You know, maybe 90 days ago or so, we started to research the possibility of expanding into Grand Forks, and I thought I'd give you a little bit. Earlier, I'd given an overview of the company. Some people may have seen that, some may not. But I'd also like to give you a little idea of what we're doing in Grand Forks. So in the project, we're in the final contracting phase. We're in definitive document phase with Minkota Power and Nodak Cooperative. We are close to securing 100 megawatts of capacity for our data centers there in Grand Forks, and we're keeping an option on an additional 50 megawatts. So while we're still in the legal phase, you know, Minkota there was a building on the site. We're entering into a longer-term lease for that building. We divided the project into 3 pieces. So there's the build-out of the existing building, which we're going to lease. There's the build-out, a full construction of a second building, and then the option to build the third building. And at the same time, you know, a short distance away, there's the build-out of the power and substation. So it'd be substation and primary transformer. So we have heavy work underway across all 3 aspects of the project. Out at the substation and primary transformer, we've already begun pouring the concrete for the transformers. The substation is being built. Relay stations are in progress, and again, those definitive agreements are between the legal teams. On building number 1, the building that exists on site, we've already begun placing the racking, the interior walls. We have a hot aisle, cold aisle strategy that allows for perfect airflow. We've been assessing the needs for heat. You know, obviously, if you look into our company, most of our data centers are in the southeast United States. We're excited about taking our engineering technical skills and patents and understanding of air-cooled dynamics and putting them to use in the Grand Forks area. So it'll be a different type of climate, so we're making the right modifications to the existing building to do that. When it comes to constructing the next building, we did run into some delays with regards to prefabricated steel. And that actually put a little bit of the project at risk. So our head of construction, a man named Gary Fife, Gary spent much of the last 6 weeks or so discussing with different contracting companies, builders, electricians, and we're actually going to fabricate our own steel for building 2 and potentially building 3 at the same time, and we're able to basically take what is a 12-week delay in prefabricated steel and take that back out of the system and keep this project on track. We hope to begin construction this summer. We'd like to have building 2 and possibly building 3 erected before the cold of the winter, so the electricians can work inside in the winter. We have, and then the last piece of this is the servers. So we have over 50,000 machines on order from our main manufacturers, the top 3 in the world who make this type of equipment. And we have our supply chain secured. We paid over 50% down on these machines, and they'll be coming and arriving from November through April. And we hope to have a minimum of the full, we hope to be fully at capacity in 5 months, and perhaps all the way up to 150 megawatts, right? We have the machines. It'd just be a balancing act between our Georgia facility and our Grand Forks facility. So with that said, in rapid fire, that was kind of a quick overview of the company, why we're coming to Minn Kota, how excited we are about the project. And I'd like to close and just again thank, Brandon and Keith, and I see Eric Schaefer here. We found and of course, Mayor Boshinsky, we found the business climate to be exceptional, and we're super excited about coming to Grand Forks and making this project a reality. And there's a variety of things we'd like to do longer term, perhaps with the tech center or different educational programs, or even some R&D projects in partnership with some of these huge manufacturers. Some very unique things are on the horizon that we may be able to do with local universities and with the community if we get this all pulled together by April of next year, and everything appears to be on track. So with that said, I am available for questions, whatever makes it easy for you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Pratt. Welcome to Grand Forks, and feel free. We'd like to offer you all the free cold every winter that you can use.
We'll take you up on it.
Any questions, comments for Mr. Pratt or Mr. Bombach from committee members? We have heard this a few times before. Very good. Since there's no questions, I'd open for a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Prairie has the motion.
Second.
Mr. Kafalmi gives us a second. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you again. Welcome. We'll see you, let's see, that'll be on June 7th. Is that right, that this will come forward to the JDA?
It sounds right, yeah.
Correct.
Yes. Very good. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item number 4, C-Run Loan Request, Roadway Inn. Mr. Hanson.
All right, Chair Weber, members of the Growth Fund Committee, really quickly, before we get into this one, a quick update. We have allocated $680,000 for the C-Run program so far. Remaining of our allocation from the EDA, we have $710,000 remaining. The application in front of you is from Vignac Incorporated. They're doing business as Roadway Inn. Again, my apologies for the application that's now been included and is available on the website. I've had physical copies here for you all as well for that application. Vignac Inc., or the Roadway Inn, is owned by Smiley Talker and his wife, Mina. They purchased the business in 2008 and in 2015 transitioned from the Road King to the Roadway Inn. They have 85 rooms for short-term accommodations located next to the Columbia Mall. They are unable to be here today. Their daughter is graduating in Pennsylvania this weekend, so happy occasion for the family. That is why they're not in attendance today. They have no previous loans with the JDA, but as far as the C-Run goes, their C-Run impact hotel, Canadian border being closing, the lack of events and in-person gatherings, very obvious effect there for the business with a significant loss in revenue. There was some income from contracts to provide quarantine housing for those that needed to quarantine. However, going forward, that doesn't seem to be a need anymore as the vaccine rolls out. And there's going to be kind of an extended period until the border reopens that they expect times to be pretty difficult for at least the immediate future as the recovery gets underway. There is some hope too with more events happening in town, more large-scale events, maybe some of those weddings that were postponed happening this summer for things to recover. As far as the recovery strategy, they're looking to use some of these funds, about $50,000, for a touchless key card system to enhance the overall hygiene of the hotel experience. It makes their customers feel a lot more comfortable as well, reduces the risk of transmitting COVID-19 and other viruses, working capital to help stabilize their cash flow throughout this recovery, and they're hoping to see that Canadian border reopen soon. As far as the loan terms for this loan, we are recommending up to a $200,000 working capital loan, $50,000 of which to be used for that touchless key card system at 1% interest with a 12-month deferral amortized over 60 months. There will be a blanket UCC lien and a personal guarantee required, and I will stand for any questions.
Very good. And Mr. and Mrs. Thacker, long-term local business owners, this is the first time we're hearing this. Any questions or comments?
So, Mr. Hanson, thank you. Couple things. One, it does mention that personal guarantee would be required. My understanding, there's two owners, 50-50. Would that be joint with personal guarantees of both owners? Would that be the intent?
Yes, we'd ask for a personal guarantee from both.
Okay, thank you. For something, if we would go to $200,000, is this something where a turn down letter from the bank would be required?
Yes, and we have received a turn down letter from the primary lender.
Okay, thank you. And would the other policies, guidelines of the C-Run program be satisfied, then everything's compliant with those terms?
Yes, they have demonstrated an impact from COVID-19, a significant impact, and eligible uses of the funds for their recovery purposes.
Thank you. Final question would be is, obviously this industry was hit hard. This is the purpose of some of the C-Run itself. That's what we're trying to accomplish. But any thoughts on projections as they're moving forward here? It does say that they're going to purchase some equipment and cover some expenses that won't be covered by revenue for a period of time. Any outlook from the group on when they will become positive cash flow?
Yeah, so originally they had last heard that the Canadian border would be opening in 2022. Recently there's been some news that would be pushed up in the addition of the federal government and in some cases the North Dakota state government providing vaccines to Manitoba and Canadian citizens. So their hope is that the Canadian border will open soon, but the idea is that this working capital will help stabilize our cash flow for now, and as some of the events return and large-scale gatherings return, it'll help them stabilize as well. So the working capital loan, along with the return of events, is hoping to help keep them going until they get to a reopening of the border.
And I would imagine their projections would indicate that once those things occur, that they would be cash flow positive.
Yes, they have demonstrated to us an ability to repay the loan.
Okay, thank you. No other questions.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Mr. Kavami.
Just to clarify, so our balance of the C-Run is 800, what was that amount?
So our remaining balance is 710,000.
710, okay. And then, so looking at their COVID financial impact, so they've already received 751,000 through various programs. And then sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just to clarify that portion in particular, because there was a mistake on the application regarding that section under financial impact. 751,000 is the COVID impact that they have experienced as a business. Underneath that 237,000, it's under private debt financing. It actually should be up one line to that federal and state grants and loans received. So in terms of assistance they've received so far, it's about 237,612.
Perfect, okay, that was my next question. And so some of that is going to be loans, right? So where are we, is our loan second to anything that's already existing as far as through the Paycheck Protection Program and things like that?
I guess I'm not familiar in terms of where we're at in comparison to the SBA, for example,
Sure, yeah.
for their loans, but of that grants and loans received, that's generally federal and state loan programs. So I guess I can't answer that question too intelligently.
Sure. No worries there. And so we're saying up to 200,000. That's the amount that they requested?
Yep.
And
A not to exceed amount, yep.
so just looking at what we have, and I know that the goal is to get it spent, right? I mean, we want this out in the community, and personally, when I see 700,000 and I see 200,000 going to one entity, that makes me a little concerned, not that they surely aren't deserving of it or need it. But that just gave me a moment of pause that I just wanted to share with the rest of the fund committee.
Some background on that, not long ago, we were worried about being able to find loan applicants, right? So.
And a little bit of context too, we do have some other applications in the pipeline. We have two for $50,000. We have a couple of $100,000 ask, or $100,000 or $200,000 asks as well. So there are some in the pipeline that are smaller than this, and we'll maybe see some of those materialize as well.
And the deadline again to get that spent?
We're on a rolling deadline, so
Okay.
when they can provide a completed application for us, it's on a first come, first served basis.
The deadline to fulfill our C-run funding, so the 710,000.
Yeah, so we need all of that expended by the end of June 2022.
Okay.
Mr. Hanson, just to clarify, I think to add to Mr. Kavami's questions, on that federal and state grants, I think if I've done my math right, of that 237, most of that is actually in grant money versus loans, if that would be correct, given that they received most of it through the PPP program and the HERG program. So this would be probably their largest infusion that would be considered a loan versus what they received towards that impact. Would that be correct?
That's correct, Ms. Whitney. The only loan that they have is an EIDL loan for $17,500. The rest is grant funding.
Okay, so this would actually not be a huge debt load that they would be carrying per se in relation to the total amount of funding they've received in support of the COVID-related impact they've experienced.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. And then I think to follow up on the spending it versus what's in the pipeline, if we were to, say, spend everything we had, are there other vehicles to look to gain additional funds if we felt we needed that, or we could see a demand in the community from, requests that we might have in our pipeline?
Yeah, so the EDA has indicated that as they're checking in with communities, if you are not spending your money on a schedule that's consistent with showing you'll spend it by the end of the 2 years, so the end of June 2022, that they will claw back some of those funds, whereas if you are expending those funds quickly and you can show a need and there are funds available from other communities, that it is possible we could receive additional funding. It's not guaranteed, of course, but it's something we've been told by a representative with the EDA.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Whitney. Anything further?
Great, I think great comments. I appreciate that. Yeah, I move approval.
Have a motion from Mr. Kavami. Second from Ms. Whitney.
Yep.
Yep. With a motion on the floor, any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Item 4, startup loan request, Taproom Brew Hall. Mr. Bombach.
Thank you. Members of the committee, I'm here to present another startup Grand Forks loan application from the Taproom Brew Hall, which will be a local establishment coming to downtown Grand Forks. The unique part of this is that it's a self-pour system, and there's a lot of benefits that come along with it. Joe Garceau and Matt McHugh are here to tell you just a little bit more about those benefits, and then at the completion of their presentation, I could recap exactly the loan request.
Good afternoon and welcome.
Hi, thank you. My name is Matthew McHugh. This is Joe Garceau. I've had a background in working in bars and restaurants for the last 15 years. We got together last summer trying to open this, and then COVID kind of hit. So we've been working on this for over a year just to get the doors open. We have a location now. We're in the process of demoing and remodeling it. We're hoping to still open by sometime in July. But anything we can help, you guys can help out would be great, just to get us up and running and so on. Okay.
Yes, I'm Joe Garceau. I'm a local here in Grand Forks, North Dakota. Been here all my life. Kind of what we're doing is a fun, unique, innovative, some new technology. So when we say self-pour, you come in, we confirm your age. We give you one of our unique RFID cards, size of a debit card. You go up to our 25-foot wall, monitors, couple taps per monitor, set your card in there, and it unlocks the system so you can try several different beverages at once. We'll have some wines on tap. We're looking at some cold brew coffees on tap, as well as some craft beers. we're going to keep everything kind of local to work North Dakota breweries first. And what that's going to do is allow North Dakota breweries another avenue or another way for them to market and sell their beer as well. And then kind of expand from there to another 30 taps, hopefully, in the future.
And the monitors, do they give you a pint? Can you do a flight? How does that work?
Yeah, and that's the great thing about this technology is you can pour an ounce or 16 ounces. You can pour as much as you want or as little as you want, and you get charged just by the ounce. So you can come and sample them all, or if you enjoy one, pour yourself a full pint right there.
And it is regulated with the cards. We can control how much each customer served. So we can have it limited by, all right, everyone gets 3 pints, and then they have to come back and check in with us before we serve.
Yeah, piggybacking off that, we have a system in place that's much better than any normal bar in the area for overconsumption. We can mitigate that by, you come in, we can lock up your card after 20 ounces, 30, 40 ounces. We can set it right there without you even knowing, and then it locks up your card. We've got to come over, do some kind of a sobriety check if necessary, and then just unlock your card and let you go. Start going again at it.
I have lots of questions about this, but I'll let other committee members have a go.
So,
Mr. Prairie? No, okay. Mr. Wolf, please.
Yes, thanks for being here. Interesting concept here. I'm curious on two things: licensing requirements. What do you have to do there? And then also, what's the model with? It sounds like it's going to be downtown, but where downtown? And what's the model? Do you have employees there? Or is this just people come in? Maybe talk a little bit
there'll be
about
staffing that's 2 to 3 employees at a time, working at counters, cleaning up the tables, or anything. It's just instead of having a waiter come to your table and get your order, you basically go up and get it whenever you're ready to.
You're your own waiter, yeah.
Yeah,
That's the best.
so that aspect takes it out. You don't have to wait for anyone. You could get, if you want another full pint, you can get a full pint. If you want just a half a glass, you can, pour what you prefer to have. So,
And then we've already secured the Caulfield Studios location. So we've been in the last 5 weeks doing some demolition in there.
yeah, and we have also already applied for our beer and wine license and everything, so we're just waiting for.
So you've got those. What about the how many people can be in? I mean, what's the hours of operation, or how many people would you envision? Is there
Currently, it'll be roughly around, hopefully, a maximum capacity. Most days on the weekends, 100 to 125 people. This location does have its own parking lot. There's 7 spots, but in the summer, we're going to use that as specific patio seating, so you'll be able to enjoy everything outside as well as inside.
then hours of operation? You guys think that, or what's your plan?
That's a good question. We're going to kind of follow the flow downtown right now. Most people open from Monday through Wednesday at 4 o'clock till 11 or midnight. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we'll be open at noon till midnight or 1. And then Sunday, kind of the same flow, noon to 11 at night.
Yeah. Great. Last question would be, is if I heard correctly, some of our local breweries, we'd probably be able to have a chance to taste some of those in the establishment is the plan?
For sure.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Ms. Whitney?
Gentlemen, thank you for being here. Can you talk about your outreach strategy and how you're going to kind of communicate who you are and what you are and why you're different to the community as a way to draw customers in?
Yeah, we're hoping, we're currently working with Chamber of Commerce to get on board with those guys to help us out with some of the advertising. But we're going to employ a lot of the social media marketing, those kind of radio advertising, and we're talking about doing a billboard as well, right on Washington Street there. And we'll start there, and if we have to add to it, we certainly can.
Okay, thank you. And then another question, what are you doing or how are you handling training and really helping? I think there was a question on over-service, but how are you training your staff and handling some of those issues as, just any establishment that serves alcohol?
Yeah, the great thing about that is before they can even be employed by us, they have to go through the server training through the police department. So they have to be licensed and certified. We're going to pay that for them, and it's a year. They keep that for a year, but they do all the training for us. Age check, sobriety checks, and just recognizing if somebody's either coming in, we might have to watch, or we can't allow them to drink anymore. So they play a big part in helping us do the training, but with our background as well, we can offer additional training on top of that.
All right, thank you. That was my last question.
Thank you, Ms. Whitney. Are you owner-operators?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
yep.
we're already working there, so.
Yeah.
Couple
Mr. Prairie.
quick questions. One, I think it sounds awesome. I'll be going.
Thank you.
But curious, so, and I like the local flavor style. There's a lot of great local beers. Have you already secured those? Like, because being downtown, you're gonna be next door to a lot of them. Are they open to you guys? Do they view it as competition or as collaboration?
So that's a good question. Of course, some people consider competition, but we've been talking kind of with Hap Brothers pretty well, and we're trying to collaborate and maybe even the back area with him a little bit. So we'll see how that works out in the future here. But yeah, we've already established two distributors, McKinnon and then Artisan. So what we'll do, so we don't have overlapping beers, is we're ordering off of a predetermined list, and not a lot of people do work off of, because you got to prepay for it. So we're going to prepay for some of the specialty beers that per McKinnon and Artisan, not a lot of people work with. They just get their usual typical beers. We're going to try the other route to get some of that more unique flavors in there.
Very cool. And then is there any, so say you go, you enjoy it, is off sale, or is that part of your license application? Or if I want to fill up a growler, hey, love this, take it with me?
You'll be able to do that, and we have, we're also getting a canning system, so anything we have on tap, we'll be able to put into a can and then sell.
Oh, very cool.
If you want to take it with you.
Yeah, so if you enjoy a beer, you can say, hey, can I get a can of tap number 6? We'll go over and pour your can,
Cool.
close it right there before you walk out the door with it.
And then lastly, just more out of curiosity, from when you're finished, so, I mean, is there like a bus line that you go and just drop all your dishes off, or then the servers still come clear the
we'll have
table?
some
Or
staffing that will be there just to clean
For
up
the cleanup.
tables and,
Cool.
kind of do that stuff. So, I mean, we'll have people for certain aspects of that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Very cool. Excited to have you guys downtown.
Sure. Thank you.
Mr. Kafani?
This is a really neat idea. I think this is great.
Thank you.
Just, yeah, I'm blown away. I mean, honestly, I think it's really something that'll be really neat. It'll be an activity to go and try things. My only area of concern is just Half Brothers and Rhombus and Oxford, and just making sure they're included. And I know you've got to work through distributors. There's laws that require you to do that, and just to keep that in the back of your mind. And I don't want to see them suffer because of a city-initiated program to help you guys out. That's my only issues. Otherwise, I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, we've already had some conversations with Ox Brewery, Larry Hondo, and then as well as Chad over at Half Brothers.
Perfect.
I'm trying to get a hold of Matt currently at Rummus to get his beer on tap too. So
Awesome.
We definitely want those three as our primaries,
Absolutely.
and then reach out to other areas in North Dakota from there.
That's great. Maybe kombucha, maybe?
That's I've been telling him about the whole time.
Do it.
I don't even
Let's
know what
go.
kombucha is. So.
All right, I'll be your taster.
Yeah,
So,
perfect.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Dockler or anyone else, any further questions?
No, Kyle asked all mine.
Very good. Looking for a motion then?
So moved.
Have a motion from Ms. Whitney
I'll second.
and a second from Mr. Prairie. Any further questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Next item, Mr. Conlon. Item number 6, startup loan write-off, Persephone's Floral.
Yes, Chairman Weber, members of the committee. So some of you may recall back in February of 2020, Persephone's Floral was before this body, and then the JDA for an $18,000 startup Grand Forks loan request. That at the time included the North Dakota Development Fund, who also pitched in another $9,000 loan for that project. Unfortunately, February 2020, the following month, COVID sort of kicked off. Right as Persephone's was opening, which both shut down retail for quite some time, as well as major events, weddings, proms, etc., which for a floral shop is pretty much the main revenue drivers. That was an extended shutdown that really impacted her revenue stream. So unfortunately, the business was no longer able to continue operations. I think late 2020, early 2021 was when she formally decided to close the doors permanently. To date now, no liquid business assets exist, and this would have been one of the last startup loans to be approved before we required a universal or a blanket UCC lien on equipment. So unsecured note, And unfortunately, being that we do offer the 12-month deferral, this occurred before the first payment was due. So it's the full $18,000 balance that we're looking to be, or asking to be written off today. We did have a brief conversation too with the North Dakota Development Fund, who has mentioned that they'll likely just mirror our action on this. This is the first startup Grand Forks loan default, so it's the first for them as well. I did just do a quick calculation too, based on just our total startup portfolio in terms of dollar amount. This puts our default rate at 8%, just as a point of note, I guess. So we did have a discussion with Mr. Gosted as well about sort of what the collection process for this would even look like, given that there's no liquid assets and the amount of the loan and that sort of thing. Staff doesn't believe it'd be cost effective for us to pursue it. So we're just looking for the recommendation to write this one off. Happy to answer any questions.
It's unfortunate news, but understandable under the circumstances. Questions or comments from committee members? Mr. Wolf, please.
Yeah, Mr. Conlon, thank you. Just curious refresh my memory, when did we require the UCC filing? When did we modify that? Do you recall?
I don't recall exactly. It was, I know this one came through, and then with a pairing request, I think it was Snack Shack that came through at around the same time. And I believe it was shortly after those came through, right before our next two loans. So this was, I think, the ninth one we did. I think for 11 and 12 we started requiring it.
Okay.
So date on that, I'm sorry, I don't know off the top of my head.
And I would imagine with this type of business, there would not have been a lot of equipment purchased regardless.
Correct. The only real equipment outside of presumably flower pots and that sort of thing is a cooler. That, I think there's some other interest, I think, in that, and that it's also in it continues to be housed, I believe, in her former lease space, where I think there's some back rent owed and stuff like that. So it's a little messy in terms of how that would even that would work out. Again, based on conversations with Mr. Gosta, the process for working that through probably puts it out of cost effectiveness territory.
Which would be difficult.
Right.
And do we have any idea of how many other loans we have that would be similar, where under the old, where we wouldn't have a blanket?
Sure, we have outstanding, we'd have 6 that are, we've had 2 that have been repaid in full prior to this one, so 6 total would be secured in a similar way.
And they're current at this point? Or
Yes, we have, a couple have asked for, as the standard growth fund policy for COVID, we've offered the 3-month payment forbearance. There's been, I think, 2 or 3 that have requested that. But factoring that in, all are current.
Okay, thank you. No other questions.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf.
Mr. Conlon, do you know what's the outstanding amounts that we have that are out, that are currently being?
I don't know that off the top of my head. I could ballpark it at, I don't even know if I want to ballpark it. Honestly, I don't, off the top of my head, I don't have that.
Thank you. And then was there any conversation with her? She's truly just not going to pursue this business, no matter what, no matter if anybody ever
Correct.
brought her any types of conditions whatsoever. She has definitely decided she does not want to pursue this business.
Correct. She, I spoke with her again today. We talked in the past, and she'd confirmed that she did consider exploring, could I do this as an online thing? She tried or pursued that for a little bit in terms of, feasibility studies. Her thought was that the feasibility of that and the market for that is just so oversaturated that she didn't think she could make a go of that. She explored that as a possibility, but just didn't seem to be an option. She has since taken a full-time job in a different sector, completely separate from this, and indicated again today that she doesn't have any intention or desire to go back and start again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Whitney. Anything further? This does require a motion.
Move approval?
We have a motion from Mr. Kwame
I'll second.
and a second from Mr. Wolf. Anything further? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Conlon. And Ms. Richards, Rendezvous Regional Tourism Council funding request.
Yes, joining us via Zoom, we have Don Mant, and in the audience, we have, where'd she go? Oh, Julie Rigg from CVB. You may recall approximately a year ago, City Council authorized spending $10,000 of Fund 2163 to support this Rendezvous Region Tourism Council. It took kind of a unique path in that it started with a request at Growth Fund Committee, but it was kind of decided that it made more sense given the quality of life focus of Fund 2163. That was a better funding source than going through Fund 596 or Growth Fund directly. Also, it was agreed that CVB's role in this was key, and at that time, Ms. Rigg was going to join the board of the Tourism Council, and so the funding was directed through the CVB, from the city to the CVB for the purpose of supporting the Rendezvous Region Tourism Council. So joining us via Zoom, we have Don Mant to kind of provide an update on what has happened over the past year or so, and then Julie, of course, is here if you have any questions.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Richards. Ms. Mant, welcome. Good afternoon. We can't hear you yet.
How about now?
Hi. Yes, we can hear you now. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to attend remotely. I've been quite ill the last few days, so I appreciate being able to stay here and do this remotely. I do have a bit of a presentation. I would like to just share my screen with you and walk through this. And I would like it to be rather informal so that if you have any questions on the presentation, to just please go ahead and ask along the way.
There we go. We can see the PowerPoint now.
Terrific. Thank you, Pratt. So the Rendezvous region, for those of you that may or may not be familiar, so this is a cover slide. I'll be giving you a 2020 update as well as updates on our 2021 plans as well as our budget for this year. The Rendezvous region started actually in the 1990s as a partnership of four small cities in Pembina and Cavalier County, right along the northern border adjacent Manitoba. And in 2016, we launched this again and tried to breathe some new life into the idea and established a partnership of three entire counties, Cavalier, Pembina, and Walsh County. And today we're a membership organization, much like a Chamber of Commerce, and we also rely on larger contributions from our economic development partners in these three counties. And last year, the Grand Forks Growth Fund also supported these efforts, and alongside the three job development authorities in Walsh, Pembina, and Cavalier County. Our mission is to build a cohesive regional tourism brand through education, marketing, and amenity enhancement. Today we have a 17-member board of directors, and I'm really proud to share that this board meets on a monthly basis and has continued to meet through COVID virtually, and just recently has been able to start meeting again together. This is essentially a volunteer organization. 12 of the board members are staff through the JDAs, the CBB in Grand Forks, the Chambers of Commerce, cities, historic preservation, etc. And 5 are just outright volunteers to this group. And our partnership with North Dakota Tourism continues to grow, and we have staff that attend regularly and recently also have been joining us in person. Each year we develop an annual action plan and budget and have 4 standing committees circled around marketing, membership, education, and signage. A few of our recent accomplishments that I'll be diving into are a rebrand with a new logo, style, and brand, a very exciting photo shoot that we conducted in January of this year, influencer visits, and our partnership with North Dakota Tourism. This is an image of our former logo as well as our new logo. we really,
I'm not sure if the problem is on our end or on yours. We're not advancing through the PowerPoint. We're still on the first slide of that.
oh, wow.
Dawn or Greta, can you help us with that?
I think you will have to unshare.
I will need to stop? Okay.
Now share one more time.
How's that?
Very good. We've at least advanced to the launch new brand slide, so we'll see.
Okay,
Go ahead. Thank you.
excellent. Well, let me know if there's any additional trouble, Chairman Weber. The top logo is the logo that we designed back in 2016 as we were a fledgling organization. The new logo is shown there beneath it. There's a double R. There's a lot of significance in the logo design. The double R within the circle, as well as a standalone image that would be a recognizable brand or mark. The internal arrow in the inner R points to the northeast corner of North Dakota. The North and East Dakota is a rather unique design. In all my years, I've not seen that presented that way, so that was exciting to us. And actually, East and Dakota are in the shape of the state of North Dakota. We really went for a contemporary and unique color scheme, thoughtful in the applications for marketing, merchandising, and recognition. I'm sorry here, is this coming through okay?
Yep.
Okay. So this is a highlight of our photo shoot. Michael Haug of Michael Haug Photography in Minneapolis, who has roots in the Rendezvous region. His father lives in Park River. Michael is a terrific lifestyle and fashion photographer in Minneapolis and had offered to assist with the Frostfire project a year ago. And finally, just this year, we planned the photo shoot. And we extended the photo shoot to not only include Frostfire, but also 3 of our Rendezvous region communities, 4 of our mayors, 75 of our own people as models. And this was a partnership of North Dakota Tourism, the Rendezvous region, and Frostfire. With this, Michael gave us a terrific discount, a $28,000 shoot that went on for 5 days. He gave us at a cost of $7,000, which we were able to split 3 ways. This photo shoot showcased outdoor recreation, downhill skiing, cross-country skiing, fat tire biking, snowshoeing, sledding, and ice fishing. And the real brilliant behind it was that the state launched its first ever winter marketing campaign in the middle of January. So our images were used in this state campaign. I've been told that over half of the imagery used in the campaign were from our photo shoot. So we were really excited to kind of own winter and kind of show all of the exciting things that we do have to do in the Rendezvous region. You'll see Mayor Bochinsky there with his family. They were able to join us at Frostfire for part of the shoot, and that's been very helpful. We had 4 mayors in total. The mayor of Park River, Dan Stenvogt, Mayor Lacey Hinkle from Cavalier, and another mayor from one of our smaller communities. We are also at this time developing a summer shoot to showcase summer. But this shoot really gave us the imagery that we needed to showcase our stuff as well as to be able to use some high-end imagery in our marketing materials and billboards. The end of January, we had an influencer visit. This has been, this is maybe our 4th or 5th influencer visit. We do this in partnership with North Dakota Tourism. So when influencers are coming to the state, they will contact us and we will help arrange their visit within the Rendezvous region. So we had Jenna and Micah of the site called Wander the Map come to our region the weekend of the Super Bowl. And there's just a sample image of their photography. This is a stay they did in the Rendezvous region at One Majestic Place. And we lined up a series of outdoor activities. We'd planned to ski at Frostfire, but it was a sub-zero, very cold weekend. So we arranged for them to have a curling visit at the Grafton Curling Club. As an aside to the influencer visits, Wander the Map, why do we participate in the influencer program? The Wander the Map folks have 5,000 blog readers. So along with this, they did posts, social media posts. They did a takeover of North Dakota tourism during the trip of their Instagram. They also did a blog following the visit, and then 5 lifestyle images. So all of our region was showcased in their social media blogs. And 89% of marketers today believe influencer visitors and marketing is very effective. And 42% believe influencer marketing is their top return on investment generating strategy. So this is, again, just a partnership. We probably host two bloggers a year that come up and come up to visit the Rendezvous region. Our advertising for 2021, this is a sample of Michael's photography with one of our young skiers from Langdon. North Dakota Tourism is still distributing their 2020 travel guide because it did not have a date and there were still leftover materials. So they published a smaller guide called the Inspiration Guide. This is coming out with May or June issue of the North Dakota Living magazine. So if you receive that magazine, this Inspiration Guide would be in this. We did a full page ad, and our theme for this year is Go Play Outside. We also printed 10,000 brochures that are distributed in the North Dakota RAC program, as well as throughout the Rendezvous region and the other parts of the state. You may have seen we recently are launching a billboard campaign. There are billboards in Grand Forks, and digital billboards, as well as Fargo static billboard in Devil's Lake, and another electronic one in Minot. So we continue to try to get the word out about the Rendezvous region, encourage more visits. Some of our highlights for 2020, we launched a new online store, redesigned the mobile website, printed the map. So there's a sample of the map to the right of the screen. This map is also accessible on our website, and it tries to highlight all of the amenities as well as hospitality assets throughout the 3-county region. We have over 100 members today. We conducted a 3rd annual Best of the Rendezvous region where people vote. And we also did something kind of interesting. I didn't list it here, but we did a photo contest last summer just to get people engaged. So we ended up crowdsourcing hundreds of photos from our people right here in the region. We have approximately 17,000 people we reach regularly through our social media. Some of our highlights for 2021, we're already near the halfway point. We're doing updates on the website, continuing to build out our marketing plan, print materials, merchandise, continue to grow our membership base. We're also providing some board and member education opportunities. In April, we hosted an Airbnb training for folks to learn how to set up Airbnb. As we've learned, people are seeking alternative lodging arrangements post-COVID. They're also traveling to remote places. So we're trying to encourage more unique lodging opportunities. And I'll be covering next, coming up on our 2021 long-term plan. That's kind of an exciting plan that we have in the works. And then we also have 2 wall mural contests that will be designed, we're hoping over the next 3 years to to install over 13 wall murals in our Rendezvous Region communities, and then our photo shoots that I mentioned. Our longer-term plan, we really felt that we needed not just our annual plans, but a longer-term vision to provide cohesive direction for the future. So we have secured at this point $100,000 towards this regional plan. It will include the 4 counties in Region 4, Pembina, Walsh, Nelson, and Grand Forks County. We were able to tee up this plan largely in support with EDA providing funding through the COVID recovery. We also received funding from the North Dakota Partners and Marketing Program, as well as numerous of our economic development partners and with the Grand Forks Region CVB. We did solicit proposals and we conducted interviews about 10 days ago with 3 candidates, and we've tried to hone in on our top recommendation, which we're not prepared to announce at this time, but it's something that will be worked on over the next year to develop a longer range, kind of cohesive regional plan. In 2021, I've listed the main sources of income, again, our memberships, as well as our economic development partner organizations. And we did have remaining cash from last year going into this year, given COVID impacts. Our expenses, we employ 1 part-time person that works 15 hours a week. Peyton Cole has been with us for the last 3 years. So we've included wages for her. The rest of the work is done by the board of directors on a volunteer basis. We've allocated $38,000 towards marketing, photography, merchandise, website, etc. Public relations work, print materials, and then the long-term action plan. And again, this is just a sample of the Rendezvous Region logo. We have it in multiple colors, and multiple layouts and different things. This is a sample that we could use as a banner in our communities. And then lastly, I wanted to just make mention of something called Arts Across the Prairie. This is a statewide initiative where the North Dakota Council of the Arts is seeking to partner with local organizations in each of the state's 8 planning districts. So this is has been started in the Williston region, Region 1. Region 4, which is our region, will be the next region. So we are planning a kickoff meeting with North Dakota Council of the Arts and are currently seeking folks to serve on a steering committee. This initial meeting will be held on June 14th. I think it will be in Grafton, and I'm just wanting to put this out there. So if there are folks that are interested in serving from our area of the state, to just let me know and reach out with some contact information. We have a growing list for Region 4, but this is a real exciting opportunity to do a large-scale public art installation somewhere in the rural areas of Region 4. Mr. Chairman, that's the end of my presentation, and I'd be happy to entertain any questions, or if Julie Rigg may want to offer any additional comments.
Very good, thank you, Matt. Anything from committee members? Ms. Rigg, did you want to add anything today? Thanks, Julie.
Thank you, Chairman Weber and members of the Growth Fund Committee. Unfortunately, COVID hit us right after we formed this new partnership, as you know, so I don't think the partnership went as far as we'd hoped in the last year. As Don said, the board was still meeting, but it was mostly virtually, so I'm looking forward to getting to know a lot of these people more in person now as we move forward. As Don mentioned, though, the tourism development plan that we're working on, we went through the Friday before last 4 hours of interviews via Zoom of consultants that we could be working with on this plan, and I think it's going to offer great opportunities for our community to really get involved in this region. help promote it to our local residents as well as potential visitors, because with people traveling to that area, the greater Grand Forks community is obviously going to benefit. So I think this is a good partnership, and I would suggest we continue.
Very good. Thank you much. This is a slightly unusual request, as Ms. Richards said. Rather than this going to the JDA, this would be forwarded to the City Council to request funding from Fund 2163, an economic development fund, but not a revolving loan fund. Any further questions or comments from committee members? Either about, yes, Mr. Wolf, please.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just again, why does it go directly to the City Council more procedurally? What's the why behind that?
Right, so the Jobs Development Authority, Fund 5996, has generally always been limited to revolving loan funds. This is not something that we're looking to have it paid back, but it, for me, from my perspective, this is clearly an economic development investment for our community. And so 2163 is the city's economic development fund.
Okay, thank you. And so, just so I'm clear, we did $10,000 last year. We're being asked to do $10,000 again this year. Is that what the recommendation is?
Ms. Richards?
Correct. Last year, the request came to the Growth Fund Committee kind of typically, and in that first ask, it kind of evolved into, it makes more sense to come from the quality of life portion of economic development rather than the job creation and revolving loan fund part of economic development. Fund 5996 is this body. You make recommendations to the JDA, and the JDA then affirms it. For Fund 2163, City Council is the approving body. So this group would make the recommendation, as was done last year, that this has merit, but that you feel that it makes more sense to come from that quality of life economic development fund that's managed by City Council rather than the job creation and business assistance that typically comes from 5996. It is unusual. We've kind of just copied last year's approach, but the recommendation from this group would then go jointly to the JDA and City Council on June 7th.
Thank you, Mr.
Talked
Wolf.
a lot. I hope that was helpful.
No, that was helpful. Thanks, Ms. Richards. Anything further? Mr. Kavami, please.
So we saw the $5,000 that was on there from the Grand Forks CVB. Is that in addition to the 10,000, or is that 5,000 from the 10,000? I just was curious if it's 15 or 10.
Thank you, Ms. Rick.
I shouldn't sound so far away.
No, thank you.
That is in addition. So, and last year, I did forget to mention when I was up here, last year I had said, you know, if this partnership turns out to be something very successful, maybe our organization at Visit Greater Grand Forks could help fund that requested amount. Unfortunately, our budget has taken a big hit in the last year, as most tourism, travel, and hospitality organizations and businesses have, so we just don't have those extra funds. But because of the value of this plan and the partnerships that are involved, Visit Greater Grand Forks is contributing $5,000 to it. And so that would be a total then. And part of the funding also comes from the Rendezvous Region Tourism Council for this plan, so Grand Forks is investing in it that way as well.
Awesome, thank you. I'm just curious on that. And so then the long-range plan, I'm assuming that we would get emailed just a copy of that if we wanted to see when that's done. I don't know if it's a year or 6 months or whatever it is that it takes, but just something that would be shared with the city.
Absolutely. The timeline differs a little bit depending on which company that is chosen, but I would be happy to show, you know, as we go through the process. Most likely we'll have people visiting the Greater Grand Forks area during that time, and we would certainly keep you updated on the progress.
And then last question, I guess, our membership on this, you know, I know that you look at like the chamber, for example, there's not really like deliverables on the membership, but I like deliverables. So I'm just curious if there's anything you can throw at me that's, is there, you know, is it an annual check-in just like we're receiving today, or is there something more?
I'd hoped that when I was asked to be part of this and be on the board, I was hoping when we presented it this time this year that I would be able to share more information, but unfortunately, COVID did impact that. I agree, there should be deliverables for our community on this. I don't know exactly what they are, but again, particularly as we go through this process, I would expect there's going to be a year from now, more information. But with this plan, I believe we're going to see more of the steps as we go through it.
Sure. And I understand COVID threw everything for whack, so that's fine. Okay, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chair, one follow-up question.
Mr. Fahmy.
Since
Mr. Wolf,
Ms. Rigg, you did walk back up, so thank you. It was a similar question, and 2020 was a tough year from all kinds of respects, and I understand the quality of life, and that's why I understand maybe if we're using economic dollars but not a revolving fund, why we would weigh in. I certainly understand the quality of life aspect, but am interested with deliverables next year, your thoughts on economic development for this region, what metrics should we talk about next year to determine if this was, from an economic development standpoint, a success or something we'd continue?
Well, and actually, I'm hoping through the process of this planning, we will be able to identify some of those deliverables on how this partnership will benefit the greater Grand Forks area as well. That's why I'm very interested in this plan. The companies that we've interviewed, all three of them are quite reputable, and part of their plan is providing deliverables for us to really evaluate the success or lack of, but I believe that there will be some success. So I think too, as we go through this year, we'll be able to identify more of those. I would like to be able to look at, okay, if we're promoting Frostfire, I'd never considered putting Frostfire on our website or on our visitor guide, but it makes sense because you can't ski here, you can't downhill ski here, and a lot of those people that can go and downhill ski there can stay in the greater Grand Forks area, they can go out to eat here, they can shop here, they can do other things here as well. So I would like to look at ways where we can track some of that if we're promoting this, how in addition can our community benefit.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'd argue that as a regional center, we have kind of an obligation to support the region, but also the more folks we can bring into the region, there's a likelihood that they are going to come here. And also, I'd like to put it in context quickly. We've approved 3 loans today for roughly $500,000. This is an ask for $10,000. Ms. Whitney.
Just one quick question. Is there any planning, so I know in looking at Ms. Mann's presentation that there was some, talk of, impressions on social media and all that stuff. Are there any plans in the action planning around how, like, your Convention and Visitors Bureau and the Rendezvous Region, do you share, do you do multiple tags? How are you kind of coordinating the marketing and that type of stuff together, given that you probably overlap, but at the same time, you have very different reaches. So are there plans to do some of that coordinated type of work as well?
And so we haven't done any of that coordinated effort, and the plan was to do more of that with me joining the board of directors. And unfortunately, like I said, we just didn't get there this year. Through this strategic planning, I think we're going to be able to identify more of that and how we can do that together and how we can measure that. Because obviously when you look at our brand and what we're promoting and what Don has shared today, there are quite a few differences, but there's great success in regional marketing. And so I think we're going to look to those experts to really identify the best ways to do that.
Thank you. That's my only question.
Thank you, Ms. Whitney. I'm frequently reminded by Mr. Gershman, former city council president, the importance of that regional marketing of Grand Forks. We benefit in terms of sales tax and in so many ways. So,
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Please, Ms. Mann.
I wanted to add, along with Mr. Wolf's comments about measurables as well, and I have a career-long experience in economic and community development in rural North Dakota for the last almost 30 years. And I never before thought that we would be itching for workforce development. So I really do view the Rendezvous Region's efforts as well as the longer-term vision development as a people attraction strategy, not just visitors, but people to live, work, and play here. Just in our northern 2 counties with Walsh and Pembina County, we're looking at the need for upwards between 700 and 1,000 people to fill jobs that are either open today or that will be open due to retirements and planned expansions in our area. So although it's hard to measure the ROI on a marketing campaign, I do believe these partnerships, both with the Grand Forks CBB, the City of Grand Forks, the region, and North Dakota Tourism, we're all going in that similar direction about just creating higher awareness for all of our region.
Thank you, Don.
Move approval.
We have a motion for Mr. Kvamme
Second.
and a second for Mr. Prairie. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Matt. Thank you, Ms. Rigg.
Thank you.
And Ms. Richards. Final item, looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
We have a motion from Ms. Whitney and a second for Mr. Kvamme. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone.